Hello everyone and welcome to this lesson where you will learn how you can create a web page like this and control all of these elements with the help of TypeScript. And whenever you enter any number and just click on this print, so it prints it out for you into one of the fields. This is one of the starting point for the beginners which will help you understand how the HTML works in combination with the TypeScript. And then moving forward we will be making more complex applications. So let's get started. Alright, so here I am onto the Visual Studio Code and you can see as of now I haven't created any folder nor any files because I will be starting all of these steps from the scratch. So first thing is we will open our folder where we have been doing all of our work, and over here I will create a new folder and then add it over here. Now I will create a new file, and first thing first we will create an index.html file which will be our web page. So whenever you start a document, you need to type in the doc type. Now we will first give the title for our page. You can use any title of your choice. I will make it as first web page. And then we will create the body for this HTML file. I will give in the first heading, and that heading is going to be user input web page. So whenever a user opens this page, it will show a heading that it is the user input web page. Next, I am going to give a paragraph because I want to type a message for the user to enter a number to print. Let me also open this web page for you so that you can see in the real time what's going along. So as you can see over here, what this web page shows is the title, which is the first web page. Then we have the heading 1, which is the user input web page, and it can be seen over here as well. And then we have our first line paragraph which will tell the user and prompt it to enter a number to print. Now you can see that it does not have any field over here. So in order to create a field, you need to tell the HTML document that you want an input field. So I will just write down input, and then I will give the type. So in the type, I will write down that we need a number data type, and then we will assign it an ID. Now this ID is going to be used inside your TypeScript. So moving on, we will give it an ID. So let's say I give it an ID as num1. And then you need to give a placeholder so that when you have a text box over there, what is the message that you want to display on top of it. So you can say that it's number 1, and then I will just close it. Let's reload this page, and you can see over here that now we have a number field. So if I try to enter anything other than the number, it won't print except for E, because you know that E is for exponential. And then you can type in any number that you want. So you can see that it allows you to enter the number, and you can also use these buttons over here to increment or decrement the values as well. Now moving forward, the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a button. So for that we will write down button tag, and then again you need to assign an ID over here because all of the elements that are to be used in TypeScript has to have an ID, otherwise it won't be accessible inside the TypeScript. So we will name it as print button over here, and then you need to give in what is the name that you want to display on that button. So I will write down print because I want print to be displayed over here. And if I just refresh this page for you, so you can see now you have a button over here that shows print. So this is that button at this point. Now moving forward, we will give a heading, so it will be h3 smaller than the h1, and what I will write here is you entered, and then we want to display the value. So in order to display the value, we will write down a keyword output within the h3 tags itself, and then we will give it an ID, obviously because we want this value to be coming from our transpile JavaScript file so that it sends the value to this ID. So we will write down entered number. Alright, so as you can see over here that this is done so far, and I will just reload this web page again, and you can see that the web page is ready. Now if you type in any number over here and try to print it, it won't print because there are no functions that we have created right now to perform this functionality. Now for that purpose, what we will do is we will go to the Visual Studio Code again, and we will create a new TypeScript file. So let's move on to the Visual Studio Code. I will just close it for now. And now what we need to do over here is we need to create a TypeScript file. Let's say I name it as app.ts. So I will do it side by side so that you can see what's going on. Now inside the app.ts, the first thing that we need to do is we need to use these IDs and import it in here with the help of the DOM, the document object model. And for that, what you need to do is you will create constant for number 1 first. So that's the number 1 over here. this ID, and then I will be assigning it equals to document, and from the document what we want is the element ID. So I am calling the element ID. As you can see over here, which ID do we want is num1, and you can see over here this is the num1 that we want, and we are trying to bring it in over here as HTML input element, because as you know that this is an HTML input element as we have declared over here. So what this will do is whenever someone tries to enter or input any value in the text box that we created, so that value will be coming in to this const number 1 that we have declared over here. In the same way, we will also create the variables for other elements in our HTML document. So that is for const print button. I will create a variable as print button is equals to document dot get element by ID. And this time we know for button we have the ID which is named as print button. So I will just copy it and paste it in over here. And then we will say that as HTML button element because it is a button. And then our third element will be print value, because as you know we have a place to print the output whatever the user is providing it in the input field, and that will be the entered number. So for that case what we will do is we will do document dot get element by ID again, and then this time the ID that we have is entered number, and this will be as HTML output element because you need to tell it that this is an output element in our HTML document. Alright, so what we have done so far is we have referenced all of these IDs for the different HTML elements that we have in our document over here, and these are assigned as constant because these references are not going to change. So that's the reason we are using the constant over here. Now what we need to do is we need to create a function. So I will create a function over here with the name as print entered value. Now what this function will be responsible is for printing the entered value, and what it will return is it will return nothing because whatever is going to happen within the function itself. So we will write down void and then start our curly braces for the function. Now over here I am again using a keyword constant and then number 1, and we know that whatever the input that we take either from the TypeScript console or from anywhere, it is always in a string format and not in a number format. So for that we need to do the typecasting, and what we will do is we will say that we need to parse it to float, and what it needs to parse is the number 1 dot value. So whatever the value for the number 1 is, that needs to be parsed. Now the next thing is we have to print the value. So for that what we will do is the print value is actually the reference for the entered number, which is an HTML element in our HTML document, and what we will do is we will use text content to say that now we want you to display the text content, and that will be the number 1, and obviously you cannot display anything as a number, and what it will be displayed is as a string. So what we will say is we want to display the number that is inside the number 1 to be displayed as a string. So this is the function that we have created. Now coming on, what we need to do is we have created the function that will take the input and that will print the output, but we haven't catered the button yet because we need to also let the script know that okay, now the button is pressed and now you need to perform this function or call this function. So for that case we will use the print button reference that we created, and then we will use the add event listener method. Now what it will listen for is whenever the button is clicked. So we will say that you need to hear for the click, whenever the click is done or not, and then once the click is done you need to call the function print entered value. So this will be the function that will be called whenever this button is clicked, and what it will do is it will take the number whatever is provided by the user in the input field, parse it to float, and then again converting it back to string so that it can be displayed onto the HTML document. So let's go ahead and run it. I will open the terminal first, and over here the first thing that you need to do is you need to transpile this code tsc and then the app.ts. So what this will do is it will create the app.js file, and now here comes the important thing. So as you can see over here, we have created this HTML document, we have created .ts file and which has created our .js file as well, but we need to also tell this document that okay, you are going to use a particular JS file. Now you can see that we haven't told this HTML file that what JavaScript file it is going to use. So for that we will use the tag script, and the source for this script is going to be app.js, and then we will just close it out. Now go ahead and run this index.html file. Whatever number you enter now and you print it, and you can see that it is printed over here. And as I told you, you can enter only one string value, that is e, because it is exponential. And when you print it, you can see that you get the power for that particular exponential as well. So with this, I hope you've got an understanding of how the TypeScript and HTML document work together, and how you can actually use the functionality of DOMs, which is the document object model. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe our channel so that you can get more informative videos like this.